Hey yo, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and this is the real reason J.D. Vance is now the vice presidential candidate with Donald Trump. He absolutely ends Dana Bash's career on her own show. This is amazing. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have the cure to Biden-flation, now Harris-inflation, but more on that later. Now, let's get back into the video.
Dana, first of all, let me just respond to a couple of things that you said, but I want to start with something you said, which I think is frankly disgusting and is more appropriate for a Democratic propagandist than it is for an American journalist. There is nothing that I have said that has led to threats against these hospitals. These hospitals, the bomb threats and so forth, it's disgusting. The violence is disgusting. We condemn it. We condemn all violence.
Senator,
and
this
threats
happened
of violence.
after you and
But
President Trump were on the debate stage, said that cats and dogs were being eaten.
You asked a question, Dana, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it. What we have said is that this town has suffered terribly under the policies of Kamala Harris. Now, you just accused me of inciting violence against the community when all that I've done is surface the complaints of my constituents, people who are suffering because of Kamala Harris's policies. Are we not allowed to talk about these problems because some psychopaths are threatening violence? We can condemn the violence on the one hand, but also talk about the terrible consequences of Kamala Harris's open border on the other hand. Now, let me just fact check a couple of other things that you said, Dana, because it's important. You said that all of these migrants are in the country legally. They are in the country through what's called temporary protective status.
Right.
That is when Kamala Harris waved a magic amnesty wand, taking people and giving them legal status. That is not to say that they're here legally. That is a terrible indictment of her amnesty policies that have further opened the border and further caused terrible migration into this country.
You might not agree with the policy, and obviously you don't, which is totally fair and legitimate. There are policy disagreements all the time. But the fact is it is the law because President Biden and Vice President Harris are. But I don't want to frankly go down this conversation about policy
Dana,
because
you made a point. You don't. I agree. You don't want to talk about policy.
No,
Dana,
what I
want to
talk about
instead of about the fact
Senator,
that
it was
Harris,
your
Dana,
distraction.
Granted amnesty.
You were the one who started
level.
talking about eating dogs and cats.
Level.
You were the one who brought this
my
up.
Constituents
the president
were the
said
ones
it to
who talked
60
about eating
million
dog and
people.
cats, and I talked about it because you were ignoring this community. My constituents talked about it.
Have you been
it is
to
my
Springfield?
responsibility to surface their concerns when the American media
Have you been
ignores
to Springfield?
It. Dana, I've been to Springfield probably 100 times in my life.
How about
I've
recently,
taken my children
since
to
you've
get
heard
ice
this?
cream at Young's Jersey Dairy.
Have you heard recently since you've gotten these calls?
Have I been in the last 4 days?
No,
I'm
I
haven't
been
in the last 4 days, but I've talked to a lot of people in Springfield, Dana, and they're telling me this stuff is happening. Dana, would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics? I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the questions. I'm happy to be here to talk about policy, but if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this?
That's a good question. Why would any Republican in their right mind ever, and I mean ever, go on MSNBC, CBS, ABC, NBC, or CNN? At this point, no. Get off of these platforms. Do not give them any more microphones. These people are mentally broken. This woman, Dana Bash, apparently has to lie constantly. You can see the liar face. Whenever you see a newscaster doing this, it means one of two things is happening. One, she is hearing someone in her earpiece screaming, "Get him off this topic, shut him down now." Or they're realizing that I know the truth and I have to lie about it. In other words, you don't hate the mainstream media enough. And by the way, this goes for the New York Times, the Washington Post, because these outlets will give you a headline that just grabs your attention. And turns out the story has nothing to do with the headline. And thus, this spreads misinformation. This is a gross, disgusting a misuse of our First Amendment rights, which, because they are abusing it so horribly, there is a good chance in the near future that our First Amendment rights might end up going away because of the way the mainstream media keeps pitching stories. Hey y'all, in case you haven't noticed, this has gone to this. It is absolutely insane. What the feds have done, constantly printing money, making sure that your dollar becomes less and less valuable, has hurt the economy and has probably hurt you in ways that you can't even imagine yet. That's why we partner with Colonial Metals Group. CEO Paul Stone and his associates understand the ins and outs of protecting your hard-earned dollars backed by gold, silver, and other precious metals. And they even have a limited time offer for first-time buyers. Free gold and silver IRA accounts, insured storage for 5 years, up to $7,500 in free silver, and a personal safe to keep all the good stuff. So go check them out, link in the description below, or call this phone number to talk to one of the many lauded associates at Colonial Metals Group to protect your hard-earned dollars today. And Cyber Mike Benz, by the way, if you're on Twitter, go give him a follow, listen to what he has to say. He used to work for the CIA, and he's basically just blowing the whistle on how the whole operation works. And ultimately, there's actually a great movie with Robert Redford, where he, just a few years earlier in All the President's Men, portrays this wonderful, heroic journalist that brings a story to light. And just a few short years later, he makes almost the exact same kind of movie with a different premise. And that is, the CIA has already won. It does not matter if the truth gets out there. The reporter is allowed to do as he wishes, but the CIA already has won. That is a dark story. That is what's going on with our First Amendment. I want to shed light on this, and I'm sorry that I led you on a different tangent of what's going on in this video. But that's what's happening. That's what the mainstream media does. It has been captured, and in order to remain viable, they have to lie to the rich white liberals, who are the only ones who have time to consume this slop. And they cater to these people day and night. They refuse to tell the truth about the story. And the truth is, there has been an influx of at least 15,000 Haitian immigrants in the town of Springfield, Ohio. No, not Springfield Simpsons, Springfield, Ohio, a small rural town. And there are some good stories about some success stories where people come in and they're actually harder workers. They're good people. They go to church, but that's not the majority. All right. The fact is that in a town of 60,000 people, 15,000 new residents have just magically showed up, and all of a sudden, people's pets start going missing. The mainstream media lied about this story. They lied directly to you. They lied because it placates the minds of rich white liberals. Because the original reporting of this story came from a viral video of this weird woman who was an American citizen, also in Ohio, quite literally eating a cat on camera. That person wasn't Haitian. That person wasn't from Springfield. That was reason enough for them to debunk the whole story, which a lot of right-wing twidiots decide. Yes, you heard that right. A lot of right-wing influencers said, okay, it turns out the story's not real. Within 24 hours, it was proven with multiple eyewitness testimonies, and not to mention a basic knowledge of Haitians, they do eat cats. All right, that's and it's also part of a voodoo ritual. Haitians practice voodoo. It's not widespread, but it happens. It's okay to say that things happen. It is okay to say, okay, if it's a large enough group, it's probably happening somewhere. That's basic data analysis. And now we have eyewitness reports, we have video proof, we have photographs, and the mainstream media is still lying about this. And now they're saying that the rhetoric of J.D. Vance and Donald Trump has begat violence. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. The violence of the left, the rhetoric that I see on Twitter, the rhetoric I have seen on Reddit, the rhetoric that I've seen on Tumblr, the rhetoric that I hear from these people in their chants and in their slogans, the Democrat Party foments these not rich, but young white liberals. And they give them the space to espouse their views. And if you listen at all, you will hear cries for violence again and again and again. And yet they're projecting it on the Republicans. Pretty much any time a mainstream media outlet is telling you the Republicans are doing X, you can automatically assume that it's not true and the Democrats are actually doing it. And that's exactly what's happening here. J.D. Vance is Donald Trump's vice presidential nominee, not because he's the greatest of candidates. No, that's not the reason. It's because J.D. Vance is intelligent, J.D. Vance knows the media landscape, and J.D. Vance is a senator, which means that he'll continue some senatorial-style duties in voting if he wins. This is a fantastic choice, and you just saw him giving just handing Dana Bash an L that she so richly deserves. That's what CNN does, and that's what it deserves in its entirety. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.